The 2026 season is still months away, but behind the scenes, it feels like Formula One's tectonic plates are already shifting. At the heart of this chaos is Lewis Hamilton, arguably the greatest driver of this generation now, driving for Ferrari. But what was supposed to be a dream pairing is quickly becoming a nightmare. After a humiliating qualifying performance in Hungary and his now infamous useless comment, Hamilton's frustration is no longer hidden, and let's be clear, when a seven-time world champion starts questioning his own presence in the car, something is seriously wrong. There's no doubt that Hamilton still has the talent, but this isn't about raw pace anymore. It's about mindset. It's about adaptability. The SF25 just doesn't suit his driving style, and more importantly, the internal dynamic at Ferrari is becoming impossible to ignore. Charles Leclerc isn't just fast, he's established. He's the emotional favorite, the Prince of Maranello, and with the team's full backing, Hamilton now finds himself in a position he's never been in before, the number 2 driver. That's not something Lewis has ever accepted and likely never will. And here's where the panic button gets pressed. There's growing speculation, not just from media chatter, but within the paddock, that Hamilton could walk away before his deal ends. Ferrari isn't planning his replacement yet, but they'd be foolish not to explore their options. And some of those options are already making serious noise in the junior ranks. Because if Lewis goes, Ferrari won't just lose a driver, they'll lose a figurehead, a global icon, and they'll need someone ready to fill those boots fast. If Hamilton decides to step away, Ferrari's next move will be one of their most critical in decades, and the usual playbook won't work. This isn't the Ferrari of the 2000s. They can't afford another 5-year rebuild. So, who steps in? Well, it depends on how bold they're willing to be. Right now, 3 names dominate the shortlist: Isaac Hajar, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Oliver Bearman. Let's start with Hajar. The young French-Moroccan driver has been tearing up the track at Racing Bulls, showing maturity and consistency far beyond his age. Bernie Ecclestone himself said, "If I could steal him, I would." That's high praise coming from one of F1's most influential figures. But there's a catch: Hajar is a Red Bull development driver, and if Red Bull sees potential in him, they'll fight tooth and nail to keep him. The likelihood of him switching allegiances to Ferrari? Slim but not impossible, especially if Red Bull's future looks shaky under the new 2026 regulations. Then there's Bort. The Brazilian sensation is rising fast, and unlike Hajar, doesn't come with the baggage of being part of a rival academy. He's talented, well-liked in the paddock, and crucially available. But for Ferrari, this could be the golden opportunity to bring in a fresh face without ruffling feathers or breaking existing contracts. But what about loyalty? Ferrari has always valued internal growth. And Oliver Bearman, though slightly behind in the standings, is their homegrown hope. Bearman's progression through the Ferrari Driver Academy has been steady, and he knows the system inside out. The question is whether Ferrari is ready to gamble on potential, or if they'll chase results by looking elsewhere. This isn't just about lap times, it's about vision. Ferrari's next driver decision will say everything about where they see themselves heading: traditional and cautious, or ambitious and forward-looking. While Ferrari deals with uncertainty, over at Mercedes, the situation is just as volatile, in a very different way. Mercedes is already thinking 2 steps ahead. They've got George Russell locked in, but there's a quiet storm brewing behind the scenes. With 2026 bringing a complete regulation reset, Toto Wolff is sniffing opportunity. And that opportunity could come in the form of Max Verstappen. Sounds far-fetched, but it's not. If Red Bull's 2026 power unit project falls flattened, many insiders believe it might, Verstappen could lose faith in the team that brought him to dominance. And if that happens, Toto Wolff will be ready with open arms. But there's a problem. Mercedes can't run 3 top-tier drivers, which means if Verstappen jumps ship, someone's getting the boot. Enter Kimi and Antonelli. The Italian prodigy is already being considered for a loan move to Alpine, soon to be a Mercedes-powered team. It's not a demotion, it's a proving ground. If Antonelli thrives there, he's next in line for the Mercedes seat. But if Verstappen joins and dominates, Russell could be the one left out in the cold. Imagine that, a world where George Russell, once touted as Mercedes' future, becomes expendable. The stakes couldn't be higher. This potential Verstappen move is the ultimate power play. For years, he's been Red Bull's golden boy. But if the car becomes uncompetitive and the internal politics worsen, even he might decide it's time for a new chapter. And if Mercedes pulls it off, the lineup of Verstappen and Antonelli from 2027 onward could be one of the most formidable in history. Red Bull's empire isn't crumbling just yet, but there are cracks. Deep, structural cracks that could bring the whole thing down if they're not careful. One of their biggest issues is second seat curse. Since Daniel Ricciardo left, no one has truly been able to complement Verstappen. And now, their best hope for the future, Isaac Hajar, is reportedly looking elsewhere. Why? Because he's watching what's happening to drivers like Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson. Tsunoda waited years for a proper Red Bull promotion, only to score a handful of points and fade into the background. Lawson, exceptionally talented, yet still stuck in the shadow of a system that seems broken. If Hajar jumps into that second Red Bull seat too soon, He risks the same fate: underperformance, criticism, career damage, and he knows it. Despite being part of the Red Bull program, Hajar is keeping an eye on Ferrari, because even though their politics are fierce, the car might actually be more competitive in 2026. Red Bull's powertrain project with Ford has raised red flags across the paddock. It's reportedly behind schedule, underpowered, and inconsistent in testing. If that's true, not even Verstappen could carry the team forward, let alone a rookie. So Hajar is stuck. Take the promotion and risk his career, or wait for a possible opening at Ferrari or another top-tier team and hope he doesn't get forgotten in the shuffle. Either way, it's a gamble, and in Formula One, one bad season can kill your momentum forever. He's walking a tightrope and every move matters. Beyond the usual suspects, two teams are positioning themselves as wildcards in this driver market: mayhem, Aston Martin and Cadillac. On the surface, they're very different, but under the hood, both are chasing the same dream: relevance in 2026 and beyond. Aston Martin has the infrastructure, the money, and the ambition, but they're running out of time. Fernando Alonso, while still brilliant, is nearing the end of his career. Lance Stroll, let's be honest, he's not world champion material. That leaves a vacancy. And with their Honda partnership kicking off in 2026, there's a growing belief that Yuki Tsunoda could slide into that seat. It's not ideal, but it's realistic. Honda likes him. He's fast, experienced, and still young enough to grow. If Verstappen and Russell stay put, Aston Martin may have no choice but to back Tsunoda and hope the new package elevates his performance. Meanwhile, Cadillac's entry into F1 has opened new doors. They're reportedly considering a blend of experience and youth, with names like Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, and even Mick Schumacher floating around. The idea: bring in a seasoned driver who knows the ropes, pair them with a young talent, and build from the ground up. But here's the catch: time. Cadillac knows it will take years to become competitive, which means they need drivers who are in it for the long haul and not just hired guns collecting a paycheck. In the end, this isn't just a silly season. It's the beginning of a generational shift. 2026 will wipe the slate clean, and only the smartest, most strategic teams will survive. The drivers who move now, who bet on the right teams and the right projects, will be the ones who shape the future of Formula One. So now we want to hear from you. Which transfer do you think will shock the world? Is Hamilton really done? Will Verstappen take the ultimate risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to stay ahead of the chaos, hit subscribe and join us as we dive deeper into the future of Formula One.